Hi there, my name is Suzanne. I go by Ms. Suzanne Sexy Sadist in the lifestyle. I have been a professional dominant and a lifestyle switch for about 30 years. I feel like being a switch gives me a lot of extra knowledge that some tops may not have access to because I've been able to experience things from both ends of the spectrum. So, I am here today to talk to you about flogging. Why flogging, you might ask? That's an excellent question. I feel like flogging is a wonderful beginner level activity, something that does not require a lot of time and effort and focus to actually start getting pretty good at. You can put in a little bit of time and in very short order be able to get enough skill that you could create a wide variety of scenes. Everything from a very soft, sensual flogging with a lovely, soft toy, like this one, which just feels so yummy on the body. All over, little thumping, up to you can start creating more hypnotic, heavy, thuddy, medium to heavy thuddy, with something that has a little bit more oomph to it, and have maybe more of a deep tissue, floaty Vision Quest massage type session. And once you've gotten a bit of experience under your belt and you've learned to read people and you can really start pushing it, you can ramp up the intensity pretty well. Of course, with negotiation and consent and all of that. But flogging is an activity you will not ever really outgrow. You can get in, figure it out pretty early on, but keep adding to your levels as you go. And it is appropriate no matter where you go. So what is a flogger? Floggers for the most part are considered an object with a fairly sturdy handle and more lashes than you could count at a quick glance. As opposed to a cat, and not the four-legged kind, because I love those too, but a cat, like a cat of 9 tails. They don't always have 9. It's usually somewhere between 8 and 20, maybe, on average. All right, and they tend to have a longer handle and longer tails, so you need a fair bit more room and skill to throw these accurately. So start with floggers, but these are different types of cats. This one's rubber. Scary. This one is one of my favorites. It's called the St. Christopher. The braid work on this is exquisite. Okay, we'll get back to who made that in a few minutes. The other thing you might hear kicked around a lot is whips. And even I occasionally will refer to a flogger as a whip. But, a whip, for the most part, we agree is, in the lifestyle, we agree, hardly ever do we agree on everything, but we agree that a whip is a single lashed implement. Like this being a dragon tail. Something you have to really throw some energy into to get it to go accurately. And this baby, this is a 4-foot wheeler signal whip, where you actually strike with that little bit of tip right there. Can't see it today, but I have that whip tattooed right here. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. But yes, whips and cats require a bit more skill to throw. Another thing that I'd like to mention is something called a galley whip. Now, a galley whip is kind of like if a cat and a whip had a baby, okay? They tend to have a more flexible handle and lashes. So it throws kind of like a combination between a whip and a flogger, okay? This one, and I'm going to talk really briefly about quality. This one, let's see if you can see the braid work on it. Very thick, it's good, it's okay, not the best. This one, on the other hand, the braid work on it is much finer, okay? And what that does is it holds up to, it doesn't let me see if I can show you. Like this one's very loose, very wonk, wonk, wonk. kind of lost its batteries. One of my guys used to say, my whip gurus. This one will last a lot longer and continue throwing beautifully. Absolutely love the braid work that went into this one. Glorious. So, where should you buy them? My answer will always be get the best quality toys that you can afford because they will last you. When I first came into the lifestyle, I was blessed to have met Mitch and Jerry, who run ASWGT. Unfortunately, Jerry is no longer with us. But Mitch Kessler is an amazing, amazing craftsman. And I found them completely by accident, reading a book called Screw the Roses, Send Me the Thorns. They were a resource in the back of the book. And I was living in Lindenhurst. And the phone number, they were right next door in Copiague. I was like, hi, I'm brand new, I know nothing, but I think I want to buy my first flogger. Can I come visit? And they weren't not really a shop. This was their workshop, not a storefront. But they're like, okay, come on over, kid. And I went in there about an hour later, and shortly after that, I had this in my hands. And this absolutely just tickled me to death at the time. I love the gothic look of it. I have had this flogger for over 30 years, and it is absolutely exquisite. So when I tell you that I use this, and you will never be able to tell how much I have used this toy by looking at it. Most of the floggers on, let me see if you can go like that, this table, the vast majority of them came from ASWGT. And I'm going to put their link, absolutely, in my profile. And everything I have ever bought from Mitch is absolutely amazing, okay? I'll get to more about why I believe that in a minute. But yes, highly recommend them, okay? Good quality stuff. And it's not just because I'm biased. Truly, I believe everything I've ever bought from them is top-notch. And I use the hell out of it, out of everything that I bought, not just floggers, but some whips, riding crops, canes, the cats, both these cats were from Mitch, and yes, this little braided one that I raved about the braid work. So while I'm on the subject, Mitch says if anybody goes to his shop or his website, aswgt.com, and tells him Suzanne sent you, you will get 10% off. Commercial over. The reason I suggest them is because normally I would not buy stuff online. I have bought other toys from places, like this glorious lambskin, okay? I just absolutely loved the lambskin, okay? It was like butter, but I ran my hand over it at a show and completely fell in love with it, okay? That one. This one is made by Jeanette Hartwood, Jeanette Hartwood is another one of the absolute greats in the business. She has unfortunately also no longer with us. But Mitch told me he learned balance from her. We'll talk about balance in a moment too. But buy good quality toys. Buy toys that will last you a lifetime and not fall apart, okay? I do own a few junk things. I wasn't going to quite go into, like this, for example, has a rolled, it's like a sex shop quality, toy. This one also, really, really junky little handle. The lashes are nothing to write home about. I keep junky floggers if I know, for example, that I am likely to get them messy while I'm doing it. This is even like a joke, kind of a flogger. But if I know I'm going to be coming in contact with a lot of fluids that I don't want all over my good stuff, I use the junk toys. But other than that, don't buy stuff on Amazon or from overseas. Floggers like that, you have no idea what quality you're getting. And, they're going to be mass-produced junk. Go to somebody you can trust. And trust me, you can trust anything from ASWGT. Or go to a show and touch it, play with it, pick it up in person. And, you know, some kind of a conference, any of those kind of places you can do that at. So, so what you should look for when you are buying a good toy is how well made is it, okay? Like, this is beautifully, beautifully braided, okay? You can even see at the top, I don't know if you can see on here so well, I have another one that was like a knockoff that you can see just, I don't know if you can tell, but the way it was braided up here, it's kind of sort of coming apart a little bit. I use them a lot, I know that, but this one being from Jeanette Hartwood, you know, or anything I've ever bought from Mitch, one of my favorites, okay, is incredibly well made. Again, most of this stuff I've had for at least 25 years. Like I said, I use the hell out of it. So another thing you want to look for, you know, good quality, well made, is how does it feel in your hand? You know, if it's not comfortable to you, you're not going to want to use it and play with it a lot. I like toys with a bit of heft. You know, I mean, they're solidly there. I like when I can wrap my hand around it, even with my fingernails. That is a thing. Okay, if it's really skinny and you wrap it around, your nails are digging back, not fun. But a well-made toy, good grip, like it doesn't feel like it's sliding in my hand. Some of the wood ones occasionally will feel slippery to me. Okay, and balance. Of all things that I would tell you to look for in a good flogger, balance is most important to me. All right, by that I mean when you hold it, can you basically balance it on 2 fingers? I'm not doing well today, but yes, you can see how it's well balanced. And the reason for that is if it's balanced when I'm throwing it, I don't have to think about the front back, you know, keeping it equal, even. I can just make this toy not just something I'm holding, but an extension of my arm that I can easily just put out there consistently and get a very consistent stroke. As an example of something not balanced, I have this monstrosity here. A lot of heft, tiny little handle. Okay, it is not balanced at all. Like excuse me. Point taken. It is so heavy, front heavy, that you have to really work at hanging on to it, or it feels like it's falling away from you all the time. Okay, and it's not just because it's big, because this flogger, for example, actually weighs more. This one I also bought from Mitch, actually weighs more than that one, but what he does is he back weights the handle so that you can still have it balanced, okay? It is still a challenge to throw because of the size and the heft of it, but it's lovely. It's very thick, very thuddy, delicious. So I had seen on a site once something that said that you should make sure the flogger matches the distance from your shoulder to your wrist. I have not found that to be true. I think for the most part they come in a variety of sizes. Like that one has about 4 inches difference. You know, clearly these have a fair bit of difference in them. And I find different length floggers sometimes helpful for different types of scenes. If I'm doing something very close up, maybe like an over-the-knee type spanking thing, I like this little short flogger because I can stay close to the person and still use it, okay? If I have somebody who laid out on a table and I want to just do really long, luxurious thunk kind of strokes, this one is glorious for that, okay? So I don't find length to be that much of an issue. Balance. Make sure it's balanced. Okay, so, quality workmanship. How does it feel? Balanced. So let's talk about the range of sensations that you can get from a flogger. Okay, it all depends on what they're made from. You know, where I think I should have mentioned, cats tend to be stingy because they're floggers People think of them as being thuddy, but not always, because it really depends on what they're made from. Okay? For example, the top most popular thing that people buy floggers made of is different types of hides. Cowhide, deer hide, moose, elk, I have bull, I have a lamb, I have a bunny, I have all these animal hides. And all of the different materials and the cuts and the strands all affect the way it's going to feel. Like, for example, this is a moose hide. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the bull hide flogger, okay? They have very thick strands. It has a lot of thud. But also, because the way the tips are cut down here, if you are using it where it gets towards the tips, it's going to have more sting. We're going to cover usage a lot more in the next video that I'm doing. So, looking at what they're made from, this has a lot thinner strands, okay? Also, still cut triangular, which has a fair bit of sting to it. It's a thuddy sting, okay? Another thing that you can notice if you're paying attention and have felt them, this being a shiny finish on it can feel colder, believe it or not, until you use it enough, and then everything heats up. But initially, and see, it has nice rounded kind of tips on it. But this can feel a little chilly. Whereas I find like some of these, like the suede, this one's from Angie, suede feels really nice. It's luxurious, it feels smooth, but not cold. Okay, Another one I wanted to show you, different materials. This is a braided flogger. It's almost to a cat category because it's very thin amount of things. But because they're braided, they can be very stingy also. Stingy, very pinpointed. Okay? For the most part, how many times did I say that so far? For the most part, I like a good, moderate weight flogger. Decent amount of mass. The amount of mass that a thing has will absolutely affect how it feels. Thuddier, stingier. Okay, the more mass, usually, is that true? The more mass, generally more thud. And then what they're made out of course. Like this one is has that stingy thud at the end. Okay, so thick and heavy. That covers most of the hides. Wait, rabbit. I love this. Okay, this is one of the ones from Jeanette Hartwood, the toy bag, which is no longer in business now. It is luxurious. So like a lot of times if I'm doing, getting the body all heated up and then you come across with the cool rabbit fur, it really helps to see. The skin is already like on fire and all the sensations, all the nerve endings are alive and awake, and you run this across and it just feels amazing, delicious. Okay, I will often enjoy warming up with a horsehair flogger for that same reason. It gets the body awake. It makes all the nerve endings come alive, brings the blood to the surface of the skin. This was my favorite horsehair that I bought from Mitch and Jerry early on. It's a springbok antler, and I don't normally want to kill animals, but I, again, have had this toy for 25 or 28 years, somewhere in there. And it is glorious the way my fingers just drop down into those little loops, into those little curves, and you can just whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The horsehair is this lovely brushy sting, and it can go very light, but even if you stay light in the same area, it gets this slow burn kind of a heat that comes up behind it. Gorgeous. Really yummy. This is another example of a horsehair flogger that I got from Mitch and Jerry. Again, with their turned wood handle. Nice. Very, very nice. Very swish, swish, swish. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, that's most of the hides. And you want to pay attention to the material, the thickness of the strand, the texture of those strands, because as I had mentioned, different ones having different textures is going to affect the way they feel on the body. Okay, and the tips, the way the tips are. And of course, the way you actually use it. Like if you go very lightly versus very thumpy, that's going to affect the way you feel. Okay, the way it feels. And so other materials the floggers come in. Rubber. See my face. Rubber. It takes a special kind of masochist to enjoy rubber. That's not me. The rubber flogger is really, really intense. They always feel cold until they actually hit you, and then it feels a little like napalm. There's almost no nice way to use rubber. Sometimes what I will do with it, though, is just dragging it across the skin to kind of cool things off, or just going as lightly as you possibly can. You know, just the weight of this kind of a rubber toy landing on the body gets your attention, okay? I think I'd mentioned like this one also being rubber. Those just really, really hurt, okay? The one thing I really like about rubber, though, is if they get soiled, they're super easy to clean, so that's a bonus. And nylon. Well, let's do rope and chain. So speaking of things I don't actually hit people with very much, I have this I made myself, don't laugh, okay? It's got these little strands through it that are electrifiable. So when I use this, incorporated with the violet wand, all those little strands are like electrified through the body. So, and you can just kind of drag it across. So it's more for a sensation play, as well as the ball bead chain flogger. Okay, this one, if you hit people with it, you could do damage. But many times what I'll do is, again, I'll use it like this across the body, just make with the violet wand, or I'll put it in the freezer, and then I use the cold, cold beads across things like nipples, etc. Okay? And I was going to mention nylon. So nylon, well, nylon is just the thing. Nylon can come in a lot of varieties. So this one that I bought from Mitch and Jerry has these big poofy ends right here. Lovely, 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 soft. Again, perfectly balanced. Even though it's lightweight, it is perfectly balanced. And it's just really nice. This is great for nipples, delicate areas that you just want to get in and go poof, 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 but not actually hurt anybody. Great, great little fun toy for somebody who doesn't like ouch. Whereas this one has these nylon strands that the tips have been dipped, if you can see that, in liquid latex. So those tips sting, like very, very stingy on the tips. One of the last ones I think I'm going to show you is one that I'm super proud of. Mitch actually sat with me and helped me make this. Okay, this is braided nylon paracord. I sat and braided all these little braids myself until I thought my fingers were going to bleed. It gave me a really good appreciation for how much work can go into a flogger. And it's still balanced. Check that out. I was super proud. And this one, when I throw it, is a great mix of sting and thud, because yes, those tails have a good amount of thud, but there's something about this paracord that feels a little abrasive, and it's almost like it's pulling at your flesh as it comes away. So the point being, out of all the floggers you can think about and look at and be out there exploring, try to get a feel for what sort of sensations that they are likely to give the person that you're going to play with them with. And then, and of course, that still, the amount of sensation that can come from the toy is also based on how heavy or hard you throw it. Okay? So, which we will talk about in the next video that I'm doing. Whew. Thank you for being here. I hope you got something out of that. There is an article that I wrote that goes along with this, where I went a little bit deeper into some of the details that I've covered here on these toys, and I look forward to sharing more stuff with you soon. Have a great day.